Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's tarot tutorial. Thank you for all the positive feedback. I'm so happy that so many of you are getting so much from these classes. It's so important to understand because, so many of you are watching all of us tarot readers and you're just sort of taking our word on things. Well, now you're in the driver's seat and you know exactly what these cards mean. So we covered the first 22 cards, the major arcana. Those have to do with the big things in life. Now we're going to do the other 56 cards. Not all in one video, obviously, but I'm going to introduce you to the 4 suits because those cards are divided up into 4 suits. And we're going to talk about each suit one at a time. If you are interested in really delving in deep into this, you may want to get out a notebook, pause this, get something to write, and do a page, at least a page for each of the suits, okay? So we're going to start off with the wands, okay? Now, every suit starts off exactly the same. You start off with the king, the queen, the knight, the page, the ace, the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So they start with the king and they end up with the 10. Now, if you noticed, you didn't hear me say 1. There is no 1. It is an ace. So wands, first of all, correspond to Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And for our elements, they have to do with the fire element, the fire signs, right? The fire signs in astrology. And in terms of the 4 elements, they have to do with fire. Now, there is some dispute in tarot about what is faster, the wands or the swords. People make arguments for both. Either one, if you're using the tarot cards for timing issues and you get either the swords or the wands, things are going quickly. And when you get to, the cups, okay, things are slowing down, and the pentacles, they're really slow. So these are pretty fast. And these have to do with creativity, starting your own business. This very much has to do with entrepreneurship, personal power, originality, exploration, leadership. These are very strong business people. These are explorers. These are people that really get out, and they do what they want to do, right? They get things accomplished. On the other hand, though, it can leave them maybe exhausted, feeling burdened, and in a negative way. They could end up being like overly aggressive because they're so driven. So there's always a downside to every card, but there's a lot of pride and triumph and, good things with this card, but definitely business, finance, and passion. And in terms of chakras, this would be your sacral chakra. Look at all that orange. And so, that would correspond to your second chakra. Next, moving on, is the cups. So the cups for astrological signs, Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer, the element is water. And this is a very slow moving suit. Okay. Not quite as slow as the pentacles, but boy, it's slow if you're looking at timing. It has to do with emotional forces, intuition, intimacy, relationships, love, romance, making connections with other people, being attracted to other people. And because it's dealing with emotions, it can also do with some with like the more negative emotions like loss, bereavement, regret, sadness. But on the other hand, it can also, depending upon the card, be about joy and peace. So, the cups are very beautiful cards in my opinion. Next, we go on to the swords. So Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, like me. And they have to do with mental thoughts, Okay. And for elements, it's air. And I would say for chakras, I would say this one would have to do with your throat chakra and speaking your truth. Cups, I would say, has more to do with your heart chakra. Okay. So your mental force, speaking your truth, justice, having fortitude. But on the negative side, it can also mean having the blues, heartbreak, heartache. You know, think of the Three of Swords, right? But also too, all of the swords are double-edged, meaning that they're fair and balanced. They see both sides of the issue. This does have to do with justice and fairness, okay? And like I said, this is a very fast-moving card. So if you're looking at, you know, timing and you're worrying about that, it does have to do with timing. You know, and then if you were to get, say, one of these cards in reverse, it means like overthinking, going around and around in your head again and again, playing the same things over and over. It does have to do with intelligence for sure. But, you know, when someone is extremely intelligent, they can overthink. And so it can have to do with that. So worry and anguish and that sort of thing. And then lastly, the pentacles, Capricorn, Virgo, and Taurus. The element is earth. And these guys are slow. Look at their knight, for instance. All four hooves out of all the knights, those four hooves are planted. These guys aren't moving. Very, very slow. So I know we always think that because we see the golden coins, it has simply to do with money. And it can, for sure. It can definitely have to do with money and material things, but also the physical body. And the other thing that it has to do with is practicality, reliability. These people are like the salt of the earth, right? So if you're, you know, if someone, say you're reading on someone and they come up as the King of Pentacles, they're like the salt of the earth. These people are grounded, they're centered. And I know you see a lot of yellow with pentacles, so that may make you think the solar plexus chakra, like your self-esteem, your self-worth. But I would say where they are so extremely grounded that it makes me think more of the root chakra, because these people are very much practical and reliable. It has to do with resources, and it has to do with one's health, right? So you don't really ever want pentacles in reverse, because it can mean either a lack of money, a lack of good health, that sort of thing. Also, too, it has to do with like juggling things, flexibility, still having fun, working as a team, assessing things, and then getting rewarded for, you know, what you've put out there. It also has to do with discipline and self-reliance and knowledge and refinement. So I hope that that's a good intro into what the four suits mean. And then we will start digging into the suits in the next time I make one of these videos. So I hope that was helpful. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions, put them below this video. Bye, everyone.